And we have our new Commissioner Talaya Mike, who is joining us as well, and Micah Nishimura is our other new commissioner. And so, like I was saying earlier, unfortunately, we don't get to meet in person and introduce you guys all formally, but this is most of you here. There's a couple more on their way now. So we'll be here ready to go in just a little bit.
I have a Carl and a I'm still waiting on, it looks like Paul, and we've got another applicant that should be joining us shortly.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. Hi.
If I can remind everyone to please mute yourselves. Janelle, I think you're unmuted. If I could get you to mute for me just for another couple minutes. Thank you.
Looks like we're just waiting for one more commissioner, and then I'll do a quick introduction of everyone, and then we can get started if that's okay. I'm gonna give Paul a couple more minutes here. We're still a little bit early, and then we'll get started.
How do you pronounce Paul's last name?
Well, that's why I was going to ask you to introduce him, because I'm not very good at pronouncing his last name, which Makanowski, I believe, but I'm probably butchering that awfully. I apologize. And I should be better at it, since my name's often hard to say as well.
Joins us.
I'll ask him to repeat it when he's on here, so I can make sure I get it McNofsky. Maybe that's how I.
Yeah, I think Amy had said it's Maknavowski, but I could be still pronouncing it wrong. So if I offend anyone by saying your name wrong, please know that it's not on purpose.
Give him just a minute and then. Let's see here.
And I don't have anyone in the waiting room.
Okay.
Okay, you know what?
No one in the waiting room
Okay.
space?
We just got him in.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. Well, I think everyone's here, including someone that's, hey, I belong here. If you could clarify who you are, that'd be great.
Jason, thank you.
Thank you. So most of you know I'm Casey Kempen. I'm the planning manager, and I'm excited to have our planning commission here for the first meeting with all of our new commissioners. And want to take a quick second to introduce everyone, and I'll just kind of start at the top of my screen. I'm not sure what your screens show, but on my left, we have Andrew Van Duker. You can just do a little wave. Next is Vice Chair Tom Schuler. Next is Commissioner Marcel Flowers. And then I have Talia Turner Mike is next. She's a new commissioner. And then Michael Nishimura is also a new commissioner. And you all know Colleen McDuffie, our Community Development Director. Ryan Jones is our City Attorney. Janelle Engel is our Commissioner. Allison Bermudez is one of our planners. And Paul, we were questioning on how to properly pronounce your last name, so please forgive me. Is Makovsky? Did I get that close?
Close enough. McNofsky.
McNofsky. Sorry, it's going to take me a while to figure that out. I apologize. Sure. And then we have a couple of applicants on the line who will introduce themselves at a later date. So with that, Chair Sheeler, if we're good to go on the technology, Stacy, I think we're ready to get going.
We're good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Very well. I'd like to open the meeting. It is 7:02 on February 10th. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Flowers?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Maknavowski?
Here.
Commissioner Nishimura?
Here.
Commissioner Turner Mike?
Here.
Commissioner Van Duker?
Here.
Vice Chair Sheeler?
Here.
Thank you. All present.
May I ask Commissioner Flowers to lead us in the flag salute, please?
Thank you. Please join me, hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
To the republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have any speakers on items that are not on the agenda?
I need to read public comment there. I've got to read public comment first.
Sorry.
That's okay. Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the audience may address the commission on any item within the jurisdiction of the commission or on any agenda item. If you wish to address the commission, please fill out a speaker identification form and hand it to the commission secretary. When you are called upon, step forward to the podium, state your name clearly for the record. Those wishing to speak on non-agenda items will be called on upon the beginning of the meeting. Those wishing to speak against an agenda item will be called upon after the presentation by City Planning Department and the applicant for that agenda item.
We do not have any speaker sheets in the mailbox at this time.
Thank you.
Have the commissioners had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting, and do you have any comments or changes?
Tom, I need to address the next item on the agenda, and that would be consent calendar. And that's approval for meeting minutes for December 9th, 2020.
Okay. So now, does anyone have any comments or changes to those minutes? I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept.
Second?
Second.
Stacy, would you call the roll?
I had Commissioner Flowers first and Van Duker second. Is that correct? Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, I did not. I didn't move.
Was Janelle
Oh,
Engel.
okay. Oh, thank you. That's why I always check. Thank you. Approval of the minutes for December 9th, 2020. Commissioner Flowers,
Yes,
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Nakamura. I'm sorry. It's going to take me a while. Nishimura,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner Mike,
Yes.
Commissioner McNabowski,
I'll abstain from this one.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Yes.
Motion passes. Minutes approved.
Thank you. Would you read the next item, please?
It is public hearing, design review permit, DRP 20-07, 6720 Van Maren Lane. The applicant proposes to extend the height of an existing telecommunications facility by 10 feet, redesign an existing pole into a monopine, add an additional 180 square feet of ground equipment. Overall height pool will be 46 feet at the top of the tree branches at 51 feet. The project is categorically exempt review for further environmental review pursuant to section 15303, new construction, conversion of small structures of the California Environmental Quality Act. Project planner Allison Bermudez.
Stacy. Good evening, everybody, and welcome new commissioners. I am Allison Bermudez with the Planning Division, and I will be presenting you two projects this evening. Real quick, both projects are very similar in nature. They're both telecommunication facilities. So I thought I would kind of give some highlights on the facilities overall in the process. That will help address maybe some of the questions on each project. So this will be new for the new commissioners. The existing commissioners, we've talked about this before, but it's always good to have a refresher. Share this here. So an overview on telecommunications, and these are facilities that we see that provide cell service, video service, data service that we use in our business and at home for things in our house, our cell phones. Everything uses telecommunications and cellular data these days. And so you can imagine the increased need for that service. Telecommunications are operated through a network of antennas. Originally, it started what was called a 3G, then they went to a 4G, we're at LTE, and then everybody knows about the forthcoming 5G. I did want to take a moment and talk about 5G. As 5G is rolling out, and 5G are the cellulars that you're going to see. They're very small. They're typically found in areas, and they're mounted onto light poles or street lights. You're going to find them in major areas of major traffic corridors where there's a lot of traffic, a lot of movement, downtown areas where there's a high concentration of people. And so they're smaller cells that are mounted onto street lights. They're closer to the ground. You're gonna see them more often because they have a shorter range. So they're gonna see them maybe, 3 or 4 street lights apart or some kind of range like that. Versus the antennas that we're gonna be speaking of tonight are macro or monopoles that are very large and very tall and cover a wide range of areas. 5G, we don't have any in the city. I get this question a lot from the public. We don't currently have any 5G antennas in the city. We do have a process in place as we're required to by law to allow them to mount on our street lights. But we have, even though we've had interest from carriers, there's been no action or no installation movement or applications received for them. I think the focus for most carriers installing these in, the downtown areas and places of high concentration. So we don't have any 5G antennas in the city at the moment. We have been pretty busy on telecommunication projects. Many may not come to you. We don't see these very often before the commission, but the industry is going through some significant changes and upgrades with the integration of what they call E911. So many of our existing facilities are upgrading their generators, backup generators, and antennas to meet the federal mandate to allow for E911 services. So even though you haven't seen many of these projects, there has been a lot of movement and improvements and actions on the facilities in the city. Telecommunication industry as a whole is regulated by the federal oversight through the FCC, and they dictate how the industry operates, and they also do dictate to us how we process these applications and the items that we review and how we process and review and consider applications. So a quick review on how we process telecommunication applications. The review authority varies depending on the request. So as I mentioned tonight, you're seeing applications for 2 facilities because they are not new poles, but they're large items. We review and process applications for the minor changes. So as I mentioned, the generator upgrades, things like that, antenna replacements, those are all processed at staff level. New antennas that are mounted on a building or on a roof are processed at staff level. But before you'll see new poles and these major modifications, such as we see tonight. And the FCC does dictate to us what they refer to as a shot clock. So depending on the application type, we have to meet the guidelines and the requirements as far as processing these in a time frame. So the applications that you see tonight are being processed in compliance with the shot clock and in compliance with the FCC regulations as well as our zoning code. We do provide you the information necessary. It's provided in your staff reports for the items that are in compliance with the zoning code and FCC regulations. And as a reminder, our decision on these applications is based upon the design of the project. We don't look at the environmental health. That is an FCC regulation. So they have telecommunication facilities have some very strict guidelines and reporting that they do at the federal level. So they're the clearinghouse for that. And so they determine that they review all that. So to us, that's not within our purview of these items. It is done at the federal level. And then we don't consider the items based upon the use. The applicant will demonstrate that the antenna is necessary based upon coverage. So we don't review the use. What we're looking at is the design of the antenna. So just some key points that I wanted to go over before we get into the projects that will apply to both projects. So the first project I'm going to talk about is the 6720 Van Maren site. This site is located at the northeast corner of Van Maren and Auburn Boulevard. We're probably all familiar with this corner. There's a 7-Eleven at the corner, and then behind that is a small retail building with Java Cherry and a couple other small offices in there. And this pole is currently existing at this site, shown by the red star. This pole has been in existence there since 2003. It is a shorter pole, and it's a 36-foot pole, what we call a monopole. And a monopole is a standalone pole that houses antennas. They're usually large, 36 feet. This one's rather small, and they do go up to 60 feet. And so this is what is existing. It's called a monopole. The applicant has submitted an application to redesign that pole due to their need for service in the area. And we'll go show you the maps in a moment that shows the increased need and what the addition of the antenna will provide. So they will be taking this pole, it will remain, but they will extending the height by 10 feet, and it will be converted to what we call a monopine. And the significant difference is that monopoles are limited in height to 40 feet. So that's why the existing pole is this short 36-foot height limit, is because our code only allows them at up to 40 feet. So to get a pole that's taller than that, they have to convert the design to what's called a slim line or a stealth. And a slim line pole would be a facility that are usually very narrow. The poles are no more than usually 18 inches in diameter. Or a stealth facility, which is designed to look like something as the environment. So in this case, we're calling it a monopine because it looks like a tree. But you'll see stealth facilities. There is one that looks like a flagpole over on San Juan. So there's a variety of different options that can be used to disguise the antennas. So if it's a monopole, what's as currently existing, they do have a height limit of 40 feet. And to increase that height, the design does have to change or be a slim line or a stealth. The applicants are required to submit to us what they call propagation maps. And these are engineered maps that show the coverage in the area of the pole location to demonstrate that they are in need. So if you look at the map up on the upper left, the purple area shows areas that have the reliable coverage, but the coverage is only considered reliable if you're out of doors. So if you happen to live in that area in the purple, and you have, in this case, AT&T service, they're saying you have reliable service, but you may have to step outside your home or outside your business in many times to use that service adequately. And you can see by the image, there's several spots that are actually missing where there's no color, and that means there's no service. The yellow demonstrates that in transit or through passing in that area, you'll get a little bit better service, but it's not considered reliable inside. So then they do additional map showing that once that antenna is on air, as I refer to it, means it's in operation, what the coverage moves to. So you can see down here, the colors significantly change. Well, there still is some purple, but it's at an outer distant ring from the cellular antennas. Much of it converts to yellow, which is reliable coverage in the transit as well as indoor coverage, but it's less reliable. And then some heavy concentration of green, which is reliable coverage both indoors and outdoors. And this particular location has been a spot that has been lacking service for many years. We have reviewed several applications over a number of years trying to find an alternative design or layout and location for antennas to promote service in this area. And that's when the 36-foot pole went in, where it did help. But due to the topography in the area, it's been a difficult site. So this proposal to take that existing antenna and to convert it to a monopine to get the increased height is filling that need, and as shown on those maps, increasing service. So the existing pole up here, what it looks like, the pole antennas are mounted very closely, 36 feet. Those antennas would be removed, an extension would be put on that pole, and then the pole is covered in branches. As you can see, they're a variety of length, an angled, the antenna has a crown for branches, and then the pole is painted a bark color to resemble a tree. While us sitting here looking at it, we probably know it doesn't really look like a tree, but as passersby and in the area through the visual eye as you're moving, it will resemble a tree. This is the angle of how it will look traveling on Auburn Boulevard, like across from the library. So in reviewing this application, what we reviewed is the site already is in existence. And as demonstrated by the maps, there was a need for additional coverage in that area. So since this site was in existence, extending the height was improve the service as well as reduce the need to install an additional pole in the area which reduces blight. So less poles, one pole taller would serve a better need than multiple poles shorter. Ground equipment to operate the facility will all be concealed within that existing same outdoor storage area that's provided for the retail center. Everything's contained within their existing storage area. There's no removal of parking or landscaping to accommodate the installation of their ground equipment. And as required by our code, the applicant does have to demonstrate that they have reviewed other sites in the area to ensure that we are getting the best location for this. And they have submitted that they reviewed several possible locations in the areas from other installations on street lights or parking lot lights that didn't provide enough height, to rooftops, but was not meeting the same need, filling the same gaps that this proposal does, along with the challenges of finding the willing property owners to allow the installation of the equipment. So based upon what they provided us in our review of the application, we are recommending approval. And through that approval, we do have to present a number of findings. Those were provided in your staff report and discussed in detail. And as I mentioned, this is a design review permit. So they have to meet our design review findings, as well as additional findings required for the telecommunication facilities. And as I mentioned, those were provided in your staff report and analyzed in detail. So we are recommending approval of this project on Van Maren for the modification of that existing pole, recommending that you find the project exempt from CEQA and approve the design review permit. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. I know the applicant is on with us as well. So if you have any technical questions, I'm going to refer to them, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Any commissioners have questions of staff about the project?
I do have a question on this project. Where are they gonna store the diesel fuel for the backup generator, and how much are they gonna store on site?
Great, that's a good question. We will ask the applicant to answer that, the technical data.
Hi, my name is Jason Osborne, representing Crown Castle at AT&T.
Hold on one moment, Jason.
Yes.
Let's get through the questions and then I'll call on you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Any other questions? Okay. Stacy, I'll let you open the public hearing.
Tom, can you go ahead and do that, please?
I'd like to open the public hearing on this issue.
Casey, do we have anything?
Okay, Jason. Jason Osborne is the applicant on this project. I'll let him respond to your questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you, Allison, for the wonderful report. The diesel fuel is on site, and it's actually in the generator itself, and it's less than 120 gallons. So there's a dual tank that's on site, dual insulated, I should say. And it's ran periodically just for, testing and those sort of things. But other than that, it stays full.
Are there any other questions? Do we have any public comments on this issue?
We do not.
All right, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any comments about the project?
Yes, Vice Chair Sheeler. Comment, Casey, and can I offer my opinion on this?
Sure.
Is this okay?
Yes, that's fine.
So it's a better looking design and we get better coverage. So it seems like a win-win situation. So I want to thank the developers and AT&T for working with their city on improving these kind of like technology and the actual like reception and the way that they handle technology here. So I want to thank them for that.
And I'd like to say I'm encouraged that the monopine design is looking a lot better than the older fake tree designs. Seems like they are a lot better camouflage these days. So I'm inclined to support the project.
Any other commissioners with comments? All right, I would like to echo what Commissioner Machnowski said. I'm sorry, Paul. I think it's really important that we have strong cellular coverage in this city. If we want to promote Citrus Heights as a city that people want to move to, certainly strong cellular service is an important aspect of that. So I certainly support the project. Do I have a commissioner to have a motion on the recommendations?
Yeah, I move that we adopt the resolution. Would you like them in two different resolutions?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And I move that we adopt the resolution number 21-01, finding that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA for section 15303. The new construction or construction of small structures. I guess we'll stop there for the first one.
I second that, Andrew.
Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flowers,
Aye.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Nishimura,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner Mike,
Aye.
Commissioner Mignowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution finding categorically exempt from CEQA 15303. Motion passed unanimously.
The second motion?
Thank you very much.
Yes, I move to approve a design review permit DRP-20-07 to the redesign an existing communications pole into a monopine, increasing the height of the pole and install an additional ground equipment based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval as shown in Exhibit A.
I second that motion.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Flowers,
Aye.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Nishimura,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner Mike,
Aye.
Commissioner Mignowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Yes.
Motion passes to approve design review permit DRP 20-07 to redesign existing telecommunications pole, increasing the height by 10 feet to install ground equipment based on findings in staff report. Motion passed unanimously.
Any determination by the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council by filing a written notice of appeal and the appropriate filing fees of $250 with the city clerk not later than 10 calendar days after the date on which the determination is made. Would you call the next item, please?
Design review permit DRP 20-05, 6432 Tupelo Drive. The applicant requests approval of the design review permit for installation and operation of a 60-foot stealth communication pole or monopine with the Antelope Plaza Shopping Center. Antelope Plaza is located on Antelope Road between I-80 and Tupelo. The project is categorically exempt from further environmental review, section 15303, new construction conversion small structures, California Environmental Quality Act, project planner, Allison Bermudez.
Excuse me, Vice Chair Sheeler, I am going to recuse myself from this item because the applicant, Epic Wireless, is a customer of ours, so I will not be participating in the discussion or voting on this item.
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Van Duker, so what you'll need to do is actually turn off your screen so they can't see your face or any gestures during this episode. You can come back in afterward if you'd like. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you, Stacy, for introducing the item. As mentioned, this is a project similar to what we had at Van Maren, but this one is at 6432 Tupelo Drive within the Antelope Plaza. As you see here, Antelope Plaza faces Antelope Road, Interstate 80, and Tupelo Drive. The location of the proposed pole is within the shopping center in between the building here, this small building quadrant, and this vacant building, former Rite Aid, we might know it as, and it's back in this area between those two buildings. This site was a previous location of a cellular antenna that operated by RCS Wireless, or now known as Sure West Wireless. They decommissioned the site in 2008. So it's been vacant since that time, but it had been operating since I think about 1996 or 97 prior to that. And due, as like the other project, due to the lack of coverage in the area, especially with Interstate 80 adjacent to the site, there was a need for increased service in this area. The proposal is another monopine, this one being at 60 feet in height, due to the topography of the area and the freeway and the heights of the surrounding buildings. They need the height up above that. So 60 feet for this monopine. This location is consistent with our zoning code and the development standards due to height limits, setbacks, and so forth. For this site, you can see the on and off air maps, very similar to the other one. The off air, which means it's not in operation, you can see lots of purple being reliable coverage, but only outside. So again, if that's your home or your business, for good reliable service, you may have to step out of doors to use it. The areas of no color have no service. And then the yellow shows reliable service in transit. So as you can see, the I-80 corridor is very covered. When you're going to find reliable service in most areas due to the high number of cars. It's very important for the carriers, but then it does drop down to purple once you get just about in the proximity of this location. And then there is some green areas a little bit further north where you're going to have both reliable indoor and outdoor. The lower map then shows when the antennas are operational, that the much more green surrounding that area and serving the community of the shopping center and the businesses and the residents in the vicinity, and then more yellow area around, and then much more decreased purple area where there's less reliable coverage. This antenna, as you can see, would be a monopine 60 feet. You can see down below, it will have a masonry enclosure around the bottom. This will be placed. This enclosure conceals all the ground equipment and protects it. It is landscaped and will blend in with the surrounding shopping center. The tree again will have numerous branches, all varying lengths and angles to make it give a natural look that conceal the antennas that are mounted on this particular site very close to the top of the tree behind the branches. The analysis used on this project was as I mentioned, this used to have an antenna that operated. It was not a monopine, it was a regular straight monopole. So it did operate there for a number of years and no issues were known that it caused to the center or surrounding issues with its placement. Installing the monopine will significantly improve the service for the carrier in the area and especially along that I-80 heavily traveled corridor. The ground equipment will be contained within a landscape masonry enclosure. And again, alternate sites were reviewed for building rooftop installations, but due to the topography and the unwilling property owners encountered this site reactivating a site that was formerly used was the best alternative. As I mentioned on the last project, it is a design review permit. We're analyzing its appearance and design based upon the findings in the zoning code for design review permits. In addition to telecommunications have additional findings that must be met. And in this staff report as well, these findings were presented and analyzed for your review. Again, we are recommending approval of this project as well. That you find that it's exempt from CEQA and approve the design review permit. Our applicant for this item is on with us as well, so can also answer any technical data that you have for this site. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do any commissioners have questions of staff? I see no questions. Do you have anyone have questions of the project proponent?
Actually, I do have a question.
Okay, Michael, let me open the public hearing then. I'll open the public hearing on this issue. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Are they taking away some of the parking spaces on it? Because in the picture, it doesn't show that, but on one of the plans, I see that they're going to take up like 3 of the parking spaces there.
It is being located in an existing concrete landscaped area, so parking spaces are not being removed.
Okay.
Do we have any public comments on this issue?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners have comments on this project? I see no comments. Very well. Do I have a motion? And we'll get the motions up in a second here.
Yep, I move to adopt resolution number 21-02, finding that the project is categorically exempt from California Environment Quality Act, CEQA, per section 15303, construction of small projects.
I will second. Mike?
Would you call the roll, please?
Adopt resolution 2102, finding the project is exempt from CEQA 15303. Commissioner Flowers,
Aye.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Nishimura,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner Mike,
Aye.
Commissioner Maknowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker,
He recused himself, Stace.
thank you. Vice Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously.
Do I have a motion on the second item?
Yep. I move to approve a design review permit file number DRP-20-05 to allow for the construction of new 60-foot stealth telecommunications facility with associated equipment based on the findings contained in the staff report and the conditions of approval listed in Exhibit A.
I will second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Motion to approve design review permit 2005. Commissioner Flowers, Commissioner Flowers,
You're on mute, Martha.
Am I still unmuted? Sorry, aye.
thank you.
Sorry.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Nishimura,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner Mike,
Aye.
Commissioner Maknowski.
Aye.
Van Duker has removed himself. Vice Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously.
Like you got a monopine, Mr. Jones.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time. And in particular, Alison Bermudez, you did a wonderful job, as always, putting the staff report together. I think we go back 12 years when I first got in this industry, and it's always a pleasure working with you. And I'm glad that AT&T is investing some more money in such a site. It's wonderful. And improved public safety is never a bad thing. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Would you call the next item, please?
Regular calendar, item A, election of chair and vice chair.
Right, I need nominations for chair.
I nominate Vice Chair Sheeler.
I second that nomination.
Take a vote now. Okay. Would you take the roll, please?
Who did the second? I'm sorry.
Paul Macnowski.
Thank you. We have Tom Sheeler as nomination for chair. Commissioner Flowers.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, got my mute and my unmute. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nishimura.
I'm not vice chair.
I'm sorry, Chair Nishimura. I'm sorry.
I vote for Tom, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Mike Turner Mike.
Aye.
Commissioner Macnowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Sheeler.
I guess I vote for myself. Aye.
Welcome, Chair. That
Yep.
passed unanimously.
All right, now we have motion for the position of vice chair. Do I have nominations?
I nominate Commissioner Flowers as vice chair.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Tom Sheeler.
Do I get to accept the nomination? Nomination accepted, if that matters.
Thank you. Motion for nomination of Vice Chair Flowers. Commissioner Flowers.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Nishimura.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner Mike.
Aye.
Commissioner Macnowski.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Duker.
Yes.
Chair Sheeler.
Yes.
Welcome. Flowers, you are now the vice chair. Thank you. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Next item, please.
Planning Commissioner comments, Casey.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you all. Thank you to our new commissioners and welcome aboard again. We've got a lot of exciting projects for you coming in the next year. And in particular, we just received an email today from a prospective applicant who's interested in reaching out to the planning commissioners. Different applicants approach projects differently, and in this case, they would like to offer to meet with you to review their project before they submit to the city. So just some words of advice, and it's not mandatory that you meet with them. Each commissioner in the past has kind of done their own thing. Some don't meet, some do. So I'll leave it up to you, but just a few tidbits of advice to stay out of trouble and protect the city's interest. So you always want to make sure that you're welcome to listen and ask clarifying questions. Be very cautious providing any feedback. We don't want to be construed as conveying an opinion on the project before it comes to the commission. This also applies if you were at a neighborhood meeting or other event and the project applicant's talking about the project. The best practice is to probably just leave the room, but at the very minimum, don't provide any feedback or anything like that. We need you to be able to vote on projects, and if you give your feedback, you can't do that. So that's the main purpose for this. Most importantly, it's always important to keep an open mind before the item comes before you, make sure you listen to all feedback at the meeting, because that's what matters most, and that's what you should be basing your decisions off of. So I will email you the contact information from these applicants. It's for a new apartment project in the Birdcage Shopping Center. So you should be getting that tomorrow morning. I'll shoot that your way and I'll let you decide. And of course, if you have questions or concerns, feel free to reach out and ask us any questions. And then the last thing is we haven't forgotten our recently former planning commissioners. We are going to try to do something for them. It's hard, obviously, with COVID, but we may do a resolution for them at our next planning commission meeting, just recognizing their service. So we haven't forgotten about them. We just need to figure out the right thing to do in a pandemic. So.
Thank you, Casey. That's very nice.
That's all I have.
Very well. Well, if no one has any other comments, I will close the meeting and we will see you the next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Good night.